Good afternoon, my name is Yihan and I'm from the City Confectionery team. Today, I would like to share my reflection on a role-play exercise that explores ethical dilemmas in real-world business scenario. This reflection will cover my feelings during the process, analysis of my experience, ethical and cultural considerations, recommendations, stakeholder impacts, and most importantly, the lessons that I gained from my future career. At the beginning of the exercise, I experienced a strong sense of anxiety, frustrations, and accountability. The anxiety stemmed from the uncertainty of how the ethical dilemma would unfold and whether the decisions I made would be the right ones. The frustration arose from the conflicting interests involved. On one hand, there was the moral obligations to address the unethical practice such as child labor, and on the other hand, the pressing concern of business continuity and profitability. Despite these emotions, I remind myself of my accountability as a decision maker. I knew I had a responsibility to ensure that the outcome reflect both integrity and fairness. In experience analysis, the core issue I faced was the allegation of child labor in one of our supplier warehouse. These raised two main ethical dilemmas. Firstly, the conflict between ethical sourcing and the supply chain continuity. Next, it is the conflict between ensuring profitability and safeguarding the brand reputation. Both dilemmas were difficult to navigate because they involve competing priorities. Taking an immediate action against the supplier could disrupt the supply chain and increase costs. However, ignoring the allegations could damage our reputation and compromise our ethical standards. These situations require not only rational analysis but also moral courage to make a balanced decisions. In cultural awareness, the another significant aspect of the experience was the importance of cultural awareness. I realized that my personal bias could easily influence the way I approach the issue. Therefore, I made a conscious effort to consider the socio-economic conditions of the supplier's region, recognizing that cultural and economic realities may differ greatly from our own. By showing empathy and considering multiple worldviews, I was able to approach the issue with greater fairness and inclusivity. This step helped me to recognize that ethical solutions must be practical, sensitive, and considerate of broader social context. After careful evaluate, my recommendation was to continue the partnership with the supplier, but only under with strict conditions. This included an immediate compliance training for the supplier, a restructuring of their operations to eliminate child labor practice, and ongoing monitoring and accountability measures to ensure in long-term sustainability. These recommendations struck a balance between maintaining supply chain stability and upholding an ethical responsibility. For stakeholder impacts, the decision carried different implications for various stakeholders. For employees, it means improved the working conditions and a more ethical working environment. For suppliers, it creates opportunities for compliance trainings, operational improvements, and long-term growth. For customers, it enhances the trust in the brand as consumers to expect business to act more responsibly. For shareholders, the decisions require acceptance of short-term costs in exchange for long-term sustainability and reputation gains. This analysis made me appreciate the importance of balancing stakeholder interests and communicating decisions transparently. In ethical perspective, while making my recommendation, I relied on several ethical frameworks based on deontology, which emphasized duty. In this case, the duty to prevent the child labor regardless of the business pressure. In the reservoir components model, which guide my personal ethical reasoning step by step. In stakeholder theory, which reinforce the need to consider and balance diverse interests of all affected groups. By applying this perspective, I was able to make a decision that was principled, balanced, and defensible. This experience has been highly valuable. Firstly, I learned that empathy plays a central role in making ethical, stakeholder-centered decisions. Secondly, I became more confident in communicating my viewpoints even when they involve uncomfortable trade-offs. Thirdly, I recognized that collaboration and transparency build trust both within a team and with external stakeholders. Looking ahead, I intend to apply these lessons in my future career. I will continue to identify and manage my personal bias, apply cultural sensibility, and ensure meaningful stakeholder engagement, building your resilience and confidence when facing high-pressure situations, and use structured ethical frameworks to guide decision-making when navigating with complex dilemmas. In conclusion, this role-play exercise provides me with an invaluable opportunity to practice ethical decision-making in a challenging, real-world business context. It reinforces the importance of balancing moral obligations, business interests, and stakeholder needs. Most importantly, it reminds me that ethical leadership is not about making the easiest decision, but about making the right decisions, one that upholds integrity while creating long-term value for all stakeholders.